Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the Chinese foreign minister has met with his British counterpart, urging the UK to provide a fair business environment without politicizing issues. Iran says it's prevented 3 oil tankers from transiting the Strait of Hormuz as US strikes continue. And China's bracing for another typhoon in the south as wet weather and hazards persist across the region. In business, steady growth across sectors underscores China's economic resilience. In sports, Team China continues its strong performance at the Shooting World Cup. In culture and entertainment, a popular Chinese film is heading to cinemas in Thailand. And now the day's top stories. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has urged the UK to provide Chinese companies with a fair and non-discriminatory business environment and avoid politicizing economic and trade issues. He made the remarks with UK Foreign Secretary Ed Miliband in Manila. Wang called on the two countries to advance their comprehensive strategic partnership and uphold multilateralism. Miliband said the new UK government attaches great importance to relations with China and reaffirmed London's long-standing position on the Taiwan question. Meantime, Wang also met his Egyptian counterpart, Badr Abdelhadi. The two sides agreed to deepen cooperation in areas including trade, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy, while strengthening coordination on regional and international affairs. This year marks the 70th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Egypt. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi lodged a protest against the conduct of Philippine personnel ramming Chinese law enforcement vessels at a Chinese reef in the South China Sea. Wang made the remarks during a meeting with Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Maria Teresa Lazaro in Manila. He said the two countries should jointly uphold regional peace and development. Wang said China's consistently stood for bilateral dialogue and consultation, but the Philippines has manufactured and hyped up the so-called South China Sea Arbitral Tribunal, with China which China calls illegal and void. He said China's never accepted, participated in, or recognized the award from the very outset, and that it falls on the Philippines to make rational and correct decisions for the future path of relations. Lazaro says the Philippines is committed to the One China policy. She hopes that the two countries can properly resolve maritime issues through dialogue and advance bilateral ties. Chinese Foreign Ministry has urged the U.S. to properly manage differences between the two countries. Wang Yi made the remarks during a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Manila. Wang called on the U.S. to respect China's core interests, uphold the One China principle, and address China's legitimate concerns. He said the two heads of state set the course for a constructive relationship of strategic stability during their meetings in Beijing in May. Wang said the task of both sides now is to stay on the track laid out by the two heads of state to turn their consensus into understanding and action across government and sectors. Both sides viewed Wednesday's meeting as practical, positive, and constructive. They agreed to give play to the role of political and diplomatic channels, prepare for the next stage of China-U.S. high-level exchanges, and advance progress in building a China-U.S. relationship of strategic stability. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi says mutual trust in the development of China-ASEAN relations is the foundation of good neighborliness. He made the remarks during the China-ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting in Manila. Ryan Meltzer has more.
The fallout from that conflict between the U.S. and Iran, as well as the strains caused by U.S. trade policies, have, if anything, drawn China and Southeast Asia closer, as highlighted in the ASEAN-China meeting.
As we embark on the implementation of the new Plan of Action 2030, ASEAN and China will have renewed momentum in deepening cooperation that strengthens our resilience and advances a secure, inclusive and prosperous future.
The journey our relationship has traveled shows again that mutual respect and mutual trust is the basis for good neighborliness. Sincerity is the way for cooperation. Mutual benefit is the foundation for us to get things done. And openness and inclusiveness are the key for prosperity.
The U.S. Secretary of State also said his country wants to deepen ties with ASEAN, though given the U.S.'s imposition of hefty tariffs last year and the impact of its war with Iran on the region, ASEAN ministers could be forgiven for being skeptical.
That was Ryan Meltzer reporting. Survey reveals that China now boasts more favorable global perception than the United States across a wide range of countries. The survey by the Pew Research Center shows in most of the 36 countries surveyed, more people hold a positive view of China compared to the United States. These findings are echoed in a similar survey by the Asia-New Zealand Foundation. Owen Poland spoke with Chief Executive Susanna Jessup about this change in sentiment.
Do you think China's repeated message about the importance of peace and stability, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region, is starting to resonate with more people?
Well, I think any major country that is talking about peace and stability is welcome. Small countries want stability. We want rules. We want an environment where we know that's a fair playing field for small countries. So major powers that are talking about stability and peace is very welcome. Trust, however, is built over time. And so we know, for example, New Zealand's trade relationship with China, which has been incredibly important and is built up over the years. A lot of travel, the visa-free travel has made a real difference there too. So there's been a lot of positive connection with China through trade and for Māori, for the Indigenous economy as well.
Of course, your research was conducted before the recent Middle East conflict broke out. So do you think attitudes might in fact have hardened even further against the United States?
Much will depend on how the war continues to impact our economy and then the decisions that are taken by the US going forward. If we see inflation continue to increase on the basis of rising fuel prices, and if we continue to see decisions taken that perhaps either worsen or complicate the conflict and that has negative downstream impacts on our economy and on jobs and on the cost of living, it's possible New Zealanders will look to the US with greater negativity.
The Foundation's survey also revealed that more New Zealanders want to build deeper political and economic connections in Asia and China. How do you think that's going to play out in future?
81% of New Zealanders say so. The clear majority see the Asia region as really important to our future and want that investment. So we've seen a raft of agreements signed across Asia, and there's broadly a sense of positivity about the region. So while, despite all of those headlines, New Zealanders are positive about the technology they're seeing coming out of Asia, they're positive about the economic growth, they're positive about building relationships and building strategic partnerships.
That was Susanna Jessup, Chief Executive of the Asia-New Zealand Foundation. Coming up, Iran is stopping tanker traffic in the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. strikes continue.
A Chinese company stepped in to save British steel when few others would. 6 years later, the UK government stripped it of control. Was this a commercial decision or another sign that geopolitics is rewriting the rules of global investment? What comes next? Who ultimately stands to pay the biggest price? More importantly, what could cases like this mean for the future of global investment? Join us for an in-depth discussion of the British steel nationalization saga on this week's Chat Lounge, wherever you listen to podcasts and on CGTN Radio.
9 minutes past the hour. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it has stopped 3 oil tankers from passing through the Strait of Hormuz. It says one tanker caught fire after an explosion. Iranian state media says U.S. missile attacks killed 2 people in a town on the Iraqi border. Locations near cities in western Iran and a power station in southern Iran were also struck. Ehsan Kevani has more.
What we're witnessing on the ground here in Iran is a steady expansion of U.S. strikes, with new cities being added to the target list almost daily. Early Wednesday morning, the entire southern provinces were hit, along with areas in the west and northwest. This time, there was a new twist. Air defense systems went active in the capital, Tehran, for the first time during the past 11 days, and the sound of interceptions echoed across the capital. The IRGC claims they managed to shoot down one enemy drone over Tehran. Under retaliatory strikes, Iran fired precision missiles at targets in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. And the IRGC has been putting out satellite images regularly, claiming to show just how accurate their strikes have been against U.S. bases in the region. And now shifting to the U.S. president's recent threat to bomb Iran's nuclear sites, specifically the so-called Pickaxe Mountain. The foreign ministry has responded by saying that all of Iran's nuclear activities have been properly declared to the IAEA under safeguard agreements. Spokesperson Ismail Baghai went a step further, calling America's obsession on that particular site, which he says has no nuclear activity whatsoever, nothing more than an excuse for further destruction, in fact. At the same time, the IRGC has issued its own warning. If the U.S. goes after that mountain, Iran will treat it as a regional escalation. And if that line is crossed, the IRGC says all American interests, along with those of their allies and supporters, will be hit hard by Iran's armed forces.
That was Ahsan Kivani reporting. U.S. Central Command says it's completed its 12th night of strikes against Iranian military targets. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to destroy one bridge or power plant in Iran for each time Tehran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. He's also vowed to bomb Iran's nuclear site. Maddie Gannon with CNN has more from the White House.
Threats between the U.S. and Iran appear to be shifting into a new gear as the fighting shows little signs of slowing. And on Wednesday, President Trump issued a new warning. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said that the U.S. would bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant in Iran for every ship Iran targets in the Strait of Hormuz. That was just hours after Iran issued its own new warning. In a statement, Iran said that any potential attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities would be taken as an expansion of the war. That, according to a state broadcaster in Iran. President Trump on Tuesday said that the U.S. would be hitting Iran's Pickaxe Mountain soon.
That's where the action is, and we'll be hitting that area probably pretty soon. And there's not a thing they can do about it. Normally I wouldn't say that. If I thought they could do something about it, I would never say that. But we'll be hitting that area pretty soon, and very heavily.
That's the highly fortified facility under a mountain in Iran that's suspected to be a nuclear facility underground. It's not far from the uranium enrichment facility that the U.S. and Iran bombed last summer. Tehran has accused Washington of using Pickaxe Mountain as a pretext for further attacks.
That was Maddie Gannon reporting. A UN spokesman says the U.S. military campaign against Iran is making the world less safe and urged a return to diplomacy. Stefan Dujarric said strikes entered their 11th night on Tuesday, impacting energy prices and global trade. And he said Secretary General Antonio Guterres wants fighting to stop and regional territorial integrity respected.
The Secretary General wants the fighting to stop. The territorial integrity of every country in the region needs to be respected. We had what I think the 11th night of kinetic activity between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. There needs to be returned to diplomacy, and that is the message we're delivering publicly and the Secretary General is delivering in private conversations as well.
The spokesman added that military spending should go toward development and humanitarian aid. Talks under a memorandum of understanding signed on June 18th have stalled amid disputes over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran suspended its obligations on Saturday, accusing the U.S. of violating commitments following U.S. strikes and Iranian retaliatory attacks. Saudi Arabia has confirmed its vessel was hit in the Red Sea after Yemen's Houthis claimed they struck Saudi tankers in retaliation for Saudi Arabia's blockade on Yemen. The group announced a blockade on Saudi shipping on Monday. Since then, at least 10 ships have been forced to turn back, and maritime authorities are warning high-risk vessels to avoid the area. It's raising concerns over global energy supplies and maritime trade, as passage through the Strait of Hormuz remains uncertain. Ahab Alfandi has more from Sana'a.
Just one day after the Houthis' maritime ban on Saudi ports, the first signs of its impact already appeared on the Red Sea. On Monday, the Houthis, also known as Ansarullah, said it was taking the action as a response to what it called a blockade on Yemen. Since then, the group said it forced 6 ships to change course. Another supertanker, New Prime, turned back off the coast of Oman before entering the Red Sea, marking the first practical sign of the ban's impact.
Airports are closed, ports are closed, and land crossings are closed. The siege on our country continues as a result of this blockade and due to U.S. pressure on the Saudi regime to besiege our people. Therefore, it was necessary for them to reclaim their legitimate rights and break the blockade imposed on them through the guaranteed and legitimate means available to them.
This comes as tensions between the United States and Ansarallah continue to rise. U.S. President Donald Trump warned that Washington could resume military operations if the maritime ban is enforced. Ansarallah also expanded its warnings to shipping companies, urging them not to load or unload cargo at Saudi ports and warning that ships violating the ban could be targeted. The development suggests the crisis is moving from warnings to direct pressure on maritime shipping.
Trump's announcement that the United States is entering the Red Sea conflict will only push the Yemeni forces to target American ships and completely close the Bab el-Mandab Strait. The Yemeni forces have only announced that their operations are targeting Saudi ships, considering what they describe as a Saudi blockade on Yemen. If the United States intervenes, there will be very serious consequences, and the Bab el-Mandab Strait will be completely affected.
As concerns grow, British maritime security firm Amber advised ships linked to Saudi ports to review their Red Sea transit plans because of rising risks and higher war insurance costs. Reuters also quoted energy market analysts as warning that any major disruption to Saudi oil exports could push crude prices above $120 a barrel. With ships changing their routes, military warnings and increasing risks growing in the Red Sea, the crisis appears to be heading toward further escalation. If tensions continue, the impact could lead to Saudi oil exports and global energy markets.
That was Ahab Al-Fandi reporting. Saudi Arabia and the U.S. have signed an agreement to cooperate in the peaceful use of nuclear energy. The Saudi Energy Ministry says the deal follows an announcement made last year by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman during his visit to the U.S. The deal will allow the kingdom to enrich uranium using U.S. technology and reprocess nuclear waste. Yet it excludes the IAEA additional protocol, which authorizes intrusive snap inspections. A civil nuclear deal between the two countries has been in the work for years. But progress has been hampered partly by non-proliferation groups who warn that it could offer Saudi Arabia a path to develop nuclear weapons. The U.S. Energy Department said the deal will be reviewed by Congress and will go into force if there are no objections within 90 session days. An executive director of the Arab Center, Washington, D.C., has questioned the legality of the agreement given its exclusion of IAEA inspections. Halil Jashan says that the U.S. is applying different nuclear standards to Saudi Arabia compared with Iran.
I think right now the administration apparently feels the pressure to show some signs of movement forward with regards to ending the war and achieving some kind of political objective to justify this war. And it shows, I think, this step that, of course, is tied, people keep talking about the enriching program, but it's tied to also normalization with Israel. It doesn't indicate that publicly, but that's essentially the idea. It was the idea inherent in the offer back with the previous administration, the Biden administration, and with this administration. So somehow, I think the president feels that that would be a plus for his administration and would somehow help him overcome the criticism of the ongoing war.
Also described Washington's hope that the deal could resolve regional difficulties as wishful thinking.
It's wishful thinking on the part of the administration to think that offering this deal to Saudi Arabia somehow will magically resolve all its difficulties in the region. There are all kinds of issues. Number one, I would say the opposition here at home, domestically, it's not guaranteed that Congress will fulfill the president wishful thinking in this regard and approve this project, particularly in light of the fact that the administration is not following the gold standard that is usually used in terms of similar agreements in the past, like the UAE a couple of years back, known as the additional protocol that is usually signed with the IAEA to allow for enrichment program like this one. So that's not the case.
And he warned that the deal may risk paving the way for the development of nuclear weapons.
The number two difficulty is in the region. The region is unstable right now. To go ahead and introduce a program that could lead in the future, despite, let's say, good intentions, even if they do exist, could lead to the development of nuclear weapons. And we're not finished with a war that the president told us is about ending the search for a nuclear weapon on the part of Iran. So how would Iran seeking nuclear weapons require a war of this magnitude that has cost the United States and Israel hundreds of billions of dollars? Yet we go ahead and now give Saudi Arabia an option to proceed forward with similar research as claimed by Iran, because Iran also claims that its research project is a peaceful one.
That was Halil Jashan, Executive Director of the Arab Center, Washington, D.C. Coming up, China's stepping up its flood prevention efforts.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
22 past the hour. China's weather authority predicts 2 or 3 typhoons will form over the next 10 days, with one likely to enter the South China Sea around Friday and affect southern regions. The State Flood Control Headquarters has held emergency consultations with ministries. Officials warned of widespread heavy rainfall in areas hit previously, raising water levels and saturating soil. With typhoon number 12 approaching, authorities called for worst-case preparedness in Guangdong and Guangxi. The Ministry of Water Resources outlined 6 priorities, including better forecasting, dam safety, and levee defense. A severe heat wave is gripping large parts of China, with temperatures in parts of Xinjiang exceeding 44.5 degrees Celsius. The city of Hami has issued a red alert forecasting highs above 40 through Sunday. In response, local authorities are deploying sprinkler trucks for road cooling. In Guang'an, Sichuan province, nearly 350 air-conditioned rest stations have opened, offering water, medicine, and seating for outdoor workers and the elderly. Yu Jilin is secretary of the party leadership group Wushang County Federation of Trade Unions.
This round of high temperatures is characterized by its long duration, high temperatures, and the oppressive muggy conditions, impacting outdoor workers and the elderly the most.
Chongqing also issued a red alert, with police officers enduring surface temperatures over 50 degrees while inspecting vehicles. The oppressive heat is expected to persist. China's latest large-scale scientific facility has reached a major milestone as construction of the high-intensity heavy ion accelerator facility is complete in Guangdong. It passed its technological acceptance review on Tuesday, and the facility is now commencing trial operations. Liu Jiaxin spoke to experts from the Chinese Academy of Sciences to see what this super microscope means for physics, medicine, and beyond.
Atoms become ions when they lose electrons. Accelerators use electric and magnetic fields to push ions faster and faster until they race around the ring at nearly light speed. Then these ions smash into targets, recreating supernova explosions or Big Bang conditions to help scientists uncover the secrets of matter. That's what HEAF does, the High-Intensity Heavy Ion Accelerator. The facility in southern China delivers the world's highest pulsed beam intensity for heavy ions.
Heavy ions generally refer to positively charged ions formed when atoms with a mass number greater than 4, which is heavier than helium, lose all or part of their electrons. High intensity means an extremely high particle density, emitting hundreds of billions of heavy ions per pulse and accelerating them to near-light speed for research.
Spanning 80 acres, Kiev features a 2-kilometer beamline situated 13 meters underground.
This is it. I'm inside Kiev, one of the world's most advanced heavy ion accelerator facilities. The booster ring, a circular synchrotron about 569 meters. After 7 years of construction, this facility has achieved the full beam commissioning since October last year.
That's where I am, in one section of the Kiev accelerator system. Altogether, this facility houses about 6,000 major equipment units, 5 million parts, and over 1 million meters of piping. To make it all work, close coordination and all-chain innovation are needed.
The accelerator ring has 48 bending magnets and 78 focusing magnets. The bending magnets steer the ion beam around every curve to keep it on track. Each magnet core is built from thin silicone steel sheets stacked together, and they are water-cooled with diagonal supports to hold everything steady, ensuring the beam doesn't wander off.
The power supply of that bending magnet is critical. The team built the world's first fast-cycling pulsed power supply that handles both lightning-fast current changes and razor-sharp precision. It can ramp up current at 38,000 amperes per second, the fastest globally, while keeping the tracking error under 0.2 amperes. The supply also recovers energy.
This power supply works just like a range-extended electric car. When you hit the accelerator, it speeds up fast. But you also want to avoid jolting the engine. That's why we added a big energy storage unit inside. During rapid startup, the storage delivers a huge burst of power. During braking, it recovers and stores the energy for the next run. This design cuts the impact on the power grid by 15 times, keeping the grid stable and making the system green and efficient.
Kiev's innovations also include an incredibly clean vacuum chamber. It's a highway for beams to avoid gas collisions and reach near light speed. It's so clean its pressure is as low as that on the surface of the moon.
Our ultra-thin wall vacuum chamber with a skeleton liner, the first of its kind, was highly praised by Fritz Kaspers, a renowned accelerator expert at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, known as CERN, who called it innovative and recommended it be named the China Chamber for future international adoption.
So what will this super microscope actually do?
People may think heavy ion accelerators are just high-tech showpieces, and they are, being world-leading. But they also have real-world impacts. We can test satellites by simulating cosmic rays and breed better crops with higher yield and quality through ion-induced mutation. In medicine, HAF will advance heavy ion cancer therapy and the development of novel medical isotope drugs.
The first experiments are expected before the end of this year. For now, this national treasure is more than ready, and the scientific community is watching with anticipation.
That was Liu Jiaxin reporting. Canadian premiers are pushing back after the U.S. imposed 50% tariffs on Canadian autos, alcohol, and dairy. U.S. President Donald Trump invoked a 1930 trade law accusing Canada of unfair discrimination. The trade disputes casting a shadow over how the new Gordie Howe International Bridge, a 6-lane span connecting Michigan to Ontario, named for the hockey legend. The bridge, built at a cost of billions, replaces the privately owned Ambassador Bridge as the key trucking route between the two nations. More than 70% of Canadian exports go to the U.S., making this fight especially costly. Negotiations are expected in the coming days before the tariffs take effect in 30 days. We're at 29 past the hour. Beijing getting thunder showers through tomorrow, a low of 22, and it's up to 31 on Friday. Shanghai will be overcast overnight and tomorrow, a low of 28 and a high of 36. Chongqing's getting clear skies this evening, but the clouds roll in tomorrow, low of 30, the high is 40. Nanchang will see thunder showers tonight, becoming cloudy tomorrow, a low of 26 and a high of 35. Laos is getting showers through tomorrow, a low of 10 and a high of 22. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see a light rainfall tonight, becoming moderate rain tomorrow, low of 24, and it's up to 30 on Friday. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, the Chinese foreign minister has met with his British counterpart, urging the UK to provide a fair business environment without politicizing issues. Iran says it's prevented 3 oil tankers from transiting the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. strikes continue. And China's bracing for another typhoon in the south as wet weather and hazards persist across the region. Shane Begum with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
The transition to a greener future is no longer a distant goal. It's happening now. In power plants, factories, farms, and cities across China. As the world grapples with climate change, energy security, and the growing demand for electricity, China is searching for new ways to cut emissions while keeping its economy moving. Across the country, our reporters visit renewable energy hubs, industrial centers, and agricultural communities to see what that transformation looks like in practice. Through first-hand stories and on-the-ground reporting, we explore the opportunities, the challenges, and the ideas shaping China's green transition. Listen to China's Green Code, Rewriting the Rules of Growth, a special series from Climate Watch, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Thursday. Still to come. In business, steady growth across sectors underscores China's economic resilience. In sports, Team China continues its strong performance at the Shooting World Cup. In culture and entertainment, a popular Chinese film is heading to cinemas now in Thailand. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTNradio. You're also welcome to subscribe to our Substack newsletter Beyond Beijing for the world's biggest stories, along with sharp insights and exclusive analysis. First of all, the check of the day's headlines. Here's Tanyu.
Thank you, Shane. Thursday marks the 105th anniversary of the first National Congress of the Communist Party of China, the meeting that officially marked the party's founding. The China Public Relations Association hosted an event to commemorate the occasion where experts shared insights into the history of the CPC. They also discussed its contributions to the development of China and the outer world. An official with the party school of the CPC Central Committee explained why the CPC has kept winning the people's support and trust.
Looking back at history and at China's development today, we can understand why the CPC has remained deeply rooted among the people in three ways. First, it strengthens discipline and improves its conduct to stay close to the people. Second, it builds trust by connecting with the people through concrete actions. Third, it formulates and implements policies that respond to the people's needs. Staying close to the people, integrating with the people, and remaining firmly rooted among them together explain the party's strong public foundation.
The association also highlighted the party's achievements in poverty alleviation, technological innovation, and the expansion of public services. 13 delegates, including Mao Zedong and Dong Bi-wu, attended the first CPC National Congress in Shanghai on July 23, 1921. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi says the country supports UN reform. He made the remarks while meeting his Bangladeshi counterpart in Manila. Wang congratulated Khalilur Rahman on his election as president of the 81st session of the UN General Assembly. He said China is ready to work with Bangladesh to deepen bilateral cooperation. Rahman said Bangladesh firmly adheres to the One China principle and stands ready to work with China to advance cooperation, including on the China-Myanmar-Bangladesh economic corridor. While meeting with his counterpart from Papua New Guinea, Wang expressed appreciation to PNG for closing its Taipei economic office. He said the move will consolidate the political foundation of bilateral ties. The PNG foreign minister said his country adheres to the One China principle and believes that Taiwan is part of China. The Chinese foreign minister also met with counterparts from the UK, Egypt, the Philippines, the US, India, Brunei, Vietnam, and Brazil. The 21st Chinese medical team to Chad has donated medicines and equipment to the Chad-China Friendship Hospital in N'Djamena. Hospital Director Umar Hamadan Iguemia said the donation will ease emergency shortages, support malaria treatment, and help chronic disease patients. He said the support marks a shift from material aid to joint capacity building. Team head Song Zhifeng said that they chose the supplies including anti-malarials, antibiotics, surgical tools, oxygen concentrators, and acupuncture needles based on local needs. Since 1978, Jiangxi province has sent 21 teams and over 240 professionals treating nearly 20,000 patients annually. Chinese scientists have produced the first detailed map of how radiation behaves around the M87 black hole. Using data from global telescope networks, a Shanghai-led team measured how emissions change with distance from the black hole center. The study found a key transition point that matches the famous ring captured in 2019. This confirms the ring is linked to plasma radiation around the black hole, shedding new light on how black holes pool in matter and launch jets. The work moves black hole research beyond just taking pictures to actually understanding the physical processes at work.
All right, thank you very much. That's Tian Yu with headlines. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, and coming up in business, steady growth across sectors underscores China's economic resilience.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
36 past, and with business now, here's Wang Ziheng.
Thank you, Shane. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed higher on Thursday. The Shanghai Composite was up nearly 0.3%. The Shenzhen component gained around 0.4%. Power grid equipment and energy metals shares led the gainers. Elsewhere in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index rose almost 1.3%. Japan's Nikkei increased nearly 0.5%. China's economy stayed resilient against external pressures in the first half of this year, backed by steady business growth. According to the Commerce Ministry, total retail sales grew by 2.7% from a year ago. Services consumption picked up notably, with household services, culture and tourism seeing rapid growth. Spending patterns have also become more diverse, with inbound tourism and holidays emerging as key highlights. Foreign trade proved robust, with total imports and exports rising nearly 17% on a yearly basis, lending solid support to the broader economy. The country remained an attractive destination for foreign investment. The number of newly established foreign invested enterprises grew by more than 5% in the first 6 months. Nearly 4,800 foreign companies increased their investment in China over the period. Now, China has rolled out its plan for renewable energy development during the 15th five-year plan period. The National Development and Reform Commission and the National Energy Administration have jointly issued the document. The NEA says the country's renewable energy sector will enter a new development stage featuring expansion and quality improvement. According to the document, by the year 2030, the total renewable energy usage is expected to reach approximately 1.8 billion metric tons of standard coal equivalent. The total installed capacity of renewable energy power generation should reach 3.5 billion kilowatts, with annual power generation of approximately 6 trillion kilowatt hours. The combined installed capacity of wind and solar power should exceed 2.8 billion kilowatts, with annual power generation surpassing 4 trillion kilowatt hours. The 2026 International Advanced Air Mobility Expo underway in Shanghai has brought together more than 400 Chinese and international companies. The lineup underscores the industry's wide-ranging appeal, drawing a diverse mix of state-owned giants, foreign joint ventures and publicly listed corporations, all vying for a slice of the trillion-yuan market. The Civil Aviation Administration of China says the low-altitude economy market topped 1.5 trillion yuan in 2025. That's around $221 billion. The number is set to reach 3.5 trillion over the next decade. The low-altitude equipment sector posted strong growth last year in production and trade. A recent report shows China manufactured 176 billion yuan worth of drones, while total drone imports and exports exceeded 23 billion yuan last year. For more discussions on the low-altitude economy, Lincoln Humphreys spoke with Wang Kun, an assistant professor at Hong Kong Polytechnic University.
So where has drone technology genuinely reached commercial scale? And where is the industry still driven more by pilot projects and hype than by sustainable business models?
Actually, the commercial developments are very different across different sectors. In some areas are already very mature. For example, the surveying and mapping, agriculture operations, infrastructure inspection, the security patrols. These applications are very easy because they have very clear tasks and low risks and obvious efficiency gains compared with the manual operations, so easy to be commercialized. And some areas, they are scaling up the drone delivery, drone logistics. So, and also some other like urban governance, medical delivery. So these scenarios have real demand, but their expansion still depends on many factors, like the weather, like the safety management and the infrastructure. So their commercialization is still progressing and scaling up. And there is another group of industries. I have to say, the commercialization is still exploratory, especially for the passenger carrying, human being carrying eVTOLs, like the urban air mobility. So these industries, they have great potential, I have to say, but they require much higher safety standards and also the very accurate airspace management ability. So for these areas, they are still in the starting stage from some pilot projects before they can reach the larger scale commercialization.
Airspace reform remains very complex with the need for safety there. What are the biggest regulatory and operational hurdles, and how can policymakers strike that balance between safety control and market-driven access?
Yeah, exactly. You know, the key foundation of the logistics economy development is the airspace, right? So as drone flies in China grow rapidly, so you have to reach a balance between the airspace opening and the regulation. So in my view, the main challenge is how to move from a very broad control to very accurate and refined and dynamic management. As you know, different regions in China and different altitudes, different aircraft types, they have different risk levels. So China needs to classify and develop a risk-based airspace opening system. For example, for some low risk and fixed route scenarios such as agriculture, inspection, and emergency response, the airspace can be opened earlier and in a larger scale. While for some like the logistics and also some areas in the dense urban areas, airport surroundings, and sensitive facilities, you should manage more carefully. Another challenge is the coordination. Regional coordination and unified standards for the data exchanges, flight coordinations, and safety requirements are very essential. Last, I think the digital supervision is very important. You know, with millions of drones every day, traditional approval and a manual monitoring system is not enough. We need a digital and autonomous platforms for flight filing, real-time monitoring, risk warning, weather forecasting, emergency response, so on and so forth. You have to increase the capability of airspace management. Actually, the stronger the capability of the airspace management, the greater the room for safer and earlier and orderly airspace opening in China.
That's Assistant Professor Wang Qun at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. China's zero tariff policy has extended to 63 countries, including all African nations with diplomatic ties. The policy is already bearing fruit. Zimbabwe has begun exporting blueberries to China, opening a new major channel for African agricultural exports. The African country's favorable climate and export windows, particularly when Northern Hemisphere producers are off-season, give its farmers a strategic edge. Fari Martukutuya has more.
Zimbabwe's first shipment of blueberries to China is expected to open a new chapter for the industry, with earnings projected to surge, positioning the Southern African nation as a leading global producer. The anticipated growth in demand has authorities working to scale up production.
I think one key enabler is access to finance for the producers so that we can increase. Right now we are just above 650 hectares of blueberries, and I believe by end of year we could be around 850.
Increased cultivation should see production rise from about 9,500 metric tons to around 12,000 tons. Beyond expanding orchards, Zimbabwe is planning to invest in irrigation and cold chain infrastructure and to bring small-scale farmers into commercial value chains. Industry players say aggregating production from smallholder growers would not only increase export volumes, but also spread the benefits of the blueberry boom to rural communities.
60% of the land in the country is owned by small-scale farmers, so A1 and A2 farmers. It's a significant amount of land that we cannot ignore.
The removal of tariffs for access into the vast Chinese market is expected to enhance the benefits of the blueberry export protocol.
It means our products will also be competitive in the Chinese market. It also reduces pressure on pricing for the farmers, which means that they get better returns for their products.
This will ultimately help Zimbabwe's horticulture sector in its pursuit of $1 billion in revenue by 2030.
That was Fari Moktuya reporting. A recent survey by the Munich-based IFO Institute shows U.S. tariff policy continues to weigh on Germany's industrial sector, with many manufacturers postponing investment and passing higher costs on to U.S. customers. Among the 1,800 companies surveyed, 62% say U.S. tariffs have negatively affected their businesses. The share exceeded 70% in the mechanical engineering and automotive industries. 16% of companies with existing investment plans say they have cancelled domestic projects as a result, nearly double the share reported a year earlier. To cope with higher tariffs, companies are increasingly passing on the additional costs to customers. Among affected exporters, 34% say they have passed on the full cost of the tariffs to U.S. customers, while another 28% have passed on more than half.
All right, thank you very much. That's Wang Ziheng with Business. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, and coming up in sports, Team China continues its strong performance at the Shooting World Cup.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past now, turning to sports. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. Chinese Olympic champions Shen Lihao and Zhang Chanhong have claimed the top two spots in the men's 10-meter air rifle at ISSF World Cup in Hangzhou. Shen, the two-time Paris Olympic gold medalist, led competition from the start of the final and secured the title with 253.9 points, earning his 12th World Cup gold medal and his first on home soil. Zhang, the Tokyo Olympic champion in the men's 50-meter rifle 3 positions, finished second. Sweden's Victor Lindgren took third place, narrowly beating China's Ma Sihan to prevent a home podium sweep. In badminton, world number 2, Wang Zhiyi of China has advanced to the women's singles quarterfinals at the BWF China Open in Changzhou after defeating South Korea's Xin Yujin in straight games. Wang, who trailed Sim 4-2 in their previous meetings, overcame the challenge with a well-prepared performance to secure her place in the last 8. After the match, Wang said managing fatigue and recovery will be key as the tournament continues.
I think inevitably everyone faces fatigue in high-quality and high-intensity tournaments. That's why solid physical preparation and proper recovery are so important. Hopefully, I can perform my best in the upcoming matches.
Also in the women's singles, China's Chen Yufei fought back to defeat India's PV Sindhu and reached the quarterfinals. In mixed doubles, China's Guo Xinhua and Chen Fanhui defeated Malaysia's Goh Sunhua and Siobhan Jamie Lai to book their place in the last 8. Turning to cycling, Belgium's Jasper Philipsen has claimed his first stage victory of this year's Tour de France, winning stage 17 after a perfectly timed sprint finish and keeping the battle for the green jersey alive with 5 stages remaining. Philipsen produced a strong finish in a crowded dash to the line in the 174.7 km stage, securing his 11th Tour de France stage win overall. The victory also keeps him in the fight with Denmark's Mats Pedersen for the sprinter's green jersey. After struggling early in the race, Philipsen said the victory was a special moment for himself and his team.
After such a roller coaster of emotions in this Tour de France, I had to wait until stage 17 and I was prepared very, very well. I was in the shape of my life, I think. And the first stages, the first 12 days were just horrible. And I couldn't find myself, couldn't find the feeling I was hoping for. And after 17 stages to take the victory, it's really one for the team that keep on believing in me.
Meanwhile, two-time defending champion today, Pogačar remains in control of the overall standings, holding a 4-minute, 32-second lead over Remco Evenepoel as he continues his pursuit of a record-equaling 5th Tour de France title. Manchester City midfielder Phil Foden has signed a 4-year contract extension that will keep him at the club until 2030, as the academy graduate looks to begin a new chapter at the Premier League side. The 26-year-old, who missed out on England's World Cup squad after a difficult season, has committed his future to City after winning 17 major trophies since breaking into the first team. Foden will now work under new head coach Enzo Maresca, who has taken over from Pep Guardiola. Foden said staying at his boyhood club remains a dream come true.
Unbelievable feeling. Obviously being here since a young age, coming through the full academy into the first team. It's always been a dream of mine to play for City. Yeah, and I'm lost for words really to continue my journey. I've had so many great memories here, winning a lot of trophies, and I've enjoyed every single day. Obviously I had a dream to make it to the first team, but yeah, to stay here this long, yeah, it's a dream really. And like I said, I'm just enjoying it and trying to make the most of it.
Elsewhere in the Premier League, Aston Villa has strengthened its squad ahead of their UEFA Champions League campaign by signing Argentina winger Alejandro Garnacho on a season-long loan from Chelsea. The 22-year-old will reunite with national teammate Emiliano Martinez as he looks to regain his best form. And finally, Major League Soccer has returned from its 7-week World Cup break, with Inter Miami celebrating the restart with a thrilling 3-2 victory over Chicago Fire at New Stadium. The result also spoiled debut of Polish striker Robert Lewandowski for Chicago. Luis Suarez marked his 100th appearance for Miami with a brace, including his 50th goal for the club across all competitions. Chicago twice fought back to level the match, but the 20-year-old academy graduate Preston Planbeck scored a late winner in the 87th minute to seal Miami's 5th straight regular season victory. The win keeps Miami second in the Eastern Conference, while Chicago remains third. Meanwhile, Inter Miami have also strengthened their squad by signing Brazilian midfielder Casemiro. The 5-time Champions League winner joins the club on a deal running through the end of next year's MLS season, with an option to extend through June 2029. Casemiro's arrival adds further star power to an Inter Miami side that continues to build one of the most high-profile squads in Major League Soccer.
Thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, a popular Chinese film is heading to cinemas in Thailand.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
53 past the hour. Turning to culture and entertainment, Chinese film Dear You has held its preview screening in Thailand, bringing a touching story about family bonds and overseas Chinese heritage to Southeast Asian audiences. Well, the film, also known as Love Letters to Grandma in Chinese, explores how remittance letters helped overseas Chinese stay connected with their families back home, highlighting themes of memory, sacrifice, and generational ties. Thai Minister of Culture Sabita Thaised praised the movie as a cultural bridge that reflects shared values between Thailand and China, saying the story resonates deeply with Thailand's large Teochew heritage community. The film is scheduled for a nationwide release in Thailand on August the 6th. It'll be screened in the original Teochew dialect with Thai, Chinese, and English subtitles, as well as a Thai dubbed version. From concerts and sporting events to fan communities and retail, large entertainment venues are playing an expanding role in Shanghai's growing cultural economy. Zheng Hong spoke to the general manager of Mercedes-Benz Arena to discuss what it takes to run one of the city's busiest entertainment venues.
This spaceship-like building was originally built as the Shanghai World Expo Cultural Center in 2010. Over the past 15 years, the Mercedes-Benz Arena has grown into a stage for major concerts, sports events, and a mixed-use entertainment destination. For Mike Serha, general manager of Mercedes-Benz Arena, the connection began more than a decade ago.
Really, for my personal life, probably the most historic night is Jay Chou in 2013. Because Jiechao is where my wife and I have had our first date ever. So I'm very attached to this building. And it was such a professionally run building. It was a very tremendous opportunity for me to experience as a fan.
Serha returned to Shanghai in 2024 to run the venue.
When I first got here in 2024, we started giving out Diabao trophies to certain select artists who got certain awards or anything, like with Milestone, Zhou Shun being there for his 10th anniversary concert. And he's actually one of the first ones where he doodled on it. It's more about getting a memory for the venue. Now being able to share some of these kind of unique and cool memories.
There are a lot of signed items here. What do you think they tell how these artists connect through this venue with Shanghai?
Well, I think this place has become an icon within the industry, international and domestically, that artists who are going to come to China or from China either want to launch their tour here or end their tour here. Such as last year, Xia Yiting wanted to launch his arena career, and he wanted to launch it here. He had such fond memories coming here as a fan that he wanted to launch his career here.
That position was not built overnight. The venue's post-Expo Live was planned even before the World Expo opened.
In 2008, when the first pile was started, the leadership of Shanghai really thought about what they wanted this venue as a legacy to be after the 2010. Throughout the entire World Expo, the joint venture team was on site along with a lot of global consultants, getting this venue ready for commercial operations so that come November of 2010, Wang Fei opened up the venue for commercial operations very seamlessly from the World Expo. Not a lot of venues can do that.
The early planning shaped what the building could become. It was designed not as a single-purpose arena, but as a cultural center able to handle different kinds of events and audiences.
That was Zheng Hong reporting. China Media Group has unveiled its summer program lineup in Beijing. The lineup features more than 60 high-quality productions across genres, including television dramas, documentaries, and integrated media projects. The lineup focuses on 5 major themes: historical reflection, cultural heritage, summer celebrations, cutting-edge technology, and cultural tourism experiences. A series of programs commemorating the 90th anniversary of the victory of the Long March and the 99th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese People's Liberation Army look back on the remarkable journeys undertaken by previous generations. A number of cultural programs explore the inheritance and development of Chinese civilization from perspectives including the economy, ecology, and ancient texts. We're at 57 past the hour. Beijing getting thunder showers right through tomorrow. The low is 22 and it's up to 31 on Friday. Shanghai will be overcast through tomorrow with a low of 28 and a high of 36. Chongqing is getting clear skies this evening, but the clouds roll in tomorrow. A low of 30, a high of 40. Nanchang will see thunder showers tonight. It eases to clouds tomorrow. A low of 26 and a high of 35 degrees. Last is getting showers through tomorrow with a low of 10 and a high of 22. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see a light rainfall tonight, becoming moderate rain tomorrow. The low is 24 and it's up to 30 degrees on Friday. That's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, Chinese foreign minister has met with his British counterpart, urging the UK to provide a fair business environment without politicizing issues. And Iran says it's prevented 3 oil tankers from transiting the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. strikes continue. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
The best military commander is not he who fights 100 battles and wins every one of them. The best military strategy does not lead to the desiccation of the enemy's capital city. Decoding the Art of War will help you understand why there's no art in war and how Sun Tzu stayed undefeatable using the science of war, with fun stories and insightful breakdown of famous battles. Find Decoding the Art of War wherever you listen.
A poem for the Tibetan antelope, the gentle spirit of the Qinghai Sea Zone Plateau, spoken by voices from across the world. Every spring, female antelopes migrate hundreds of miles to Zhuonai Lake to give birth, as we build gentle passages for their journey.
Hello, little Tibetan antelope, eyes opening to the light for the very first time.
To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower.
So much wonder calls for so much courage. But have no fear, the way home is right there, waiting for you.
From the snows of Kunlun to the winds of Tangula, the wilderness will teach me to be strong.
But the call of life itself never ceases.
A train runs toward the horizon. A road stretches through the wilderness.
The bridge that soars through the clouds is no barrier across the land, but a gateway to where I truly belong.
Tibetan antelope's hoofprints loosen the soil, letting snow melt sink into the earth.
Human presence passes through,
but we've never walked this land alone.